Welcome. This is going to be a short learning video on coordinate geometry, and we're going to look at how to find the perpendicular bisector of a line segment. Right, first thing we need to do though is to kind of be sure in our own minds what we mean by the perpendicular of a line segment. So by a line segment I mean if you've got one point and a second point and a line joining the 2 points. What we mean by the perpendicular bisector, well, the bisector goes through the midpoint of the line, which I've just put in red, and by the perpendicular bisector we mean the line that goes through the midpoint at a right angle, so at 90 degrees. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to look at taking 1 point, then a second point, and then finding the equation of the red line, which is the perpendicular bisector. So this is the actual problem we're going to look at. So we're going to take a point with coordinate 1, 2, and then we're going to take a second point with coordinate 3, 6. We're going to join them up, which is the line segment, and then just as we've done previously, we're going to find the midpoint, and then we're going to find the equation of the line that goes through that midpoint that's at right angles to the original line. So we're going to find the equation of the perpendicular bisector. Now this is fairly straightforward to do, and we can actually do it in 5 fairly simple steps. So step 1 is we find the midpoint. Now to do that we just need to work out the average of the x coordinates. So it's 1 plus 3 over 2, which is 4 over 2, which is 2. Then the average of the y coordinate, which is 2 plus 6 over 2, which is 8 over 2, which is 4. So from there we now know that m, which I'll call the midpoint, and its coordinate of the midpoint is 2, 4. Step 2, now we find the midpoint is 2, 4, we find the gradient of the line. So in terms of gradient, we know it's change in y over change in x. So I'll do dy delta y over delta x for change in y over change in x. Then the change in the y's is 6 take away 2. Change in the x's is 3 take away 1. And not ideal, but I'll come and write the answer over there. So 6 take away 2 is 4. 3 take away 1 is 2. So the gradient of that line segment is 2. So still doing well here. We know midpoint is 2, 4, gradient is 2. So now we need to find the gradient of the perpendicular line. So if we just remind ourselves that the gradient of that line is 2, and what we're interested in is the gradient of that perpendicular line there. So we know when we're working with perpendicular gradients, we just use this little rule, that m1 equals minus 1 over m2. So all that means is that if we know the gradient of the black line is 2, the gradient of the line that's perpendicular to it is minus 1 minus a half. So it's just 1 over minus 1 over the gradient of the line, which we already know. So reviewing where we are, we're trying to find the perpendicular bisector of the line 1, 2 and 3, 6. If we go through it, step 1 we found the midpoint was 2, 4. Step 2 we found the gradient was 2. Step 3 we found the perpendicular gradient was minus a half. Now we just need to substitute into the equation of the straight line, which is y minus y1 equals mx minus x1. So we do y. Then in terms of these parts here, y1 and x1, that's just a point on the line. Now, a point on the line that we know is that point there, 2, 4, where 2 is the x value and 4 is the y value. So if we just substitute in here, so y minus 4 equals, now the gradient is minus a half, and it's x minus 2. So we've substituted into y minus y1 equals mx minus x1, and we've got y minus 4 equals minus a half, then in brackets x minus 2. And essentially the job now is you multiply at the brackets and simplify. So I can do the first line, it's y minus 4, then it's minus x over 2, so let's multiply that bit out. Then here we're doing minus half times minus 2, which is plus 1. And now it's just a case of rearranging. So now we've got y minus 4 equals minus x over 2 plus 1. Now the only thing that's slightly awkward here is that we've got a 2 in the denominator, but that's not a massive problem because we're just going to multiply every term by 2 here. So all we shall do is write that as 2y minus 8 equals minus x plus 2. And this is the final step here, step 5, and all we're asked to do is simplify the equation into the form ax plus by plus c equals 0. And all that really means is tidy it up so you've got a 0 on one side and the letters and numbers on the other. So I can write that, so equals 0, so you have 2y, the minus x comes over to become a plus x, and you've got minus 8, and when the plus 2 comes over it becomes minus 2, so minus 8 minus 2 is minus 10. And that's your equation of the perpendicular bisector of the points 1, 2, 3, 6, 2y plus x minus 10 equals 0. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Any questions or any problems, don't hesitate to get in touch. Thank you very much.